Hey guys, what's up? Rob Shoecraft here with 3 Storm Fitness. We're going to talk about sleep. We're going to get into it today. Here's the too long didn't watch version. I'm going to shoot this first because I know what I'm going to talk about. I got it written down. All right. Number one, you got to get serious about getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep, quality sleep, as many days during the week, if not all, as you can. Treat it with the same seriousness as you do the way you eat and the way you exercise. It is absolutely 100% important. Don't ignore it. Okay? Sleep is important. Two, falling asleep. The way I look at it, trouble falling asleep amounts to either a problem with something up here or a problem with the rest of your body. So something up here, we're talking worry, we're talking anxiety, we're talking just being excited about something for good reasons. As far as something with your body, we're talking about things like, restless leg syndrome, aches and pains, lower back pain, whatever, something that's preventing you from sleeping because you're very, very physically uncomfortable or in pain. All right. So before I get into talking about fixes for those, a way that I'm going to guarantee you 7 to 9 hours of sleep every night if you follow these instructions. It's my little QVC sales pitch. I go into 4 little side topics. And those topics are, make sure that you have the window in place. It's a math problem. If you're trying to get 7 hours of sleep, don't work with a 5-hour window. So take care of everything you need to take care of before you go to bed that you got to do in the morning or that you got to do before bed. We'll get into that. Stay as active as you possibly can during the day. So work really, really, really hard and you'll fall asleep. All right, I'll get into that too. Cut back on booze because it kills the quality of your sleep. And consider supplementing with melatonin. I just did a video on it. I'll link to that below. Just don't have the expectation that it's a cure-all, okay? Because it's not. And I gave those 3 fixes for sleep to guarantee you 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep every night. All right, I'm going to link to all this stuff in the description, timestamps, the work. So if you want to hop around, do your thing, just check the description, give this the channel a subscribe and a thumbs up and all that fun stuff that I'm supposed to say. Like and subscribe. All right, let's get into it. So sleep is absolutely critical, like I just said. I would argue that it's just as important as diet and exercise. It's part of recovery. If you're working yourself to death in the gym, even if you're eating right, if you're not recovering right, not only resting between giving your muscles and nervous system a chance to rest, but sleep is the ultimate recovery tool. So you can't say that you have good recovery if you're not getting good sleep. And without good recovery, you're going to get hurt. You're not going to see results. You're not going to lose the weight you want. You're not going to get the vertical you want. Whatever it is that you're after, sleep has to be a very important part of the equation, okay? I've talked about this in a previous video, so I'm not going to beat it to death anymore. I'll link to those videos below. Like I said, I promise you, if you do not get enough quality sleep, you will not meet your goals. You just won't, okay? So don't ignore sleep. Take that away. You can turn it off now if you want. I do recommend you read the book or listen to it or have somebody read it to you as you're falling asleep. Why We Sleep by Dr. Matthew Walker. I heard about it on Rogan's podcast and my wife read it. She said you got to read it and I checked it out. Very, very good book. A lot of good, very interesting stuff about sleep. Very eye-opening, no pun intended. Check that book out. I'll link to it below. All right, so how much sleep do you need? Really, it's going to vary for different people. All right, you got those people that say like, oh, I only need 4 hours of sleep. I'm just one of those folks. It seems like every president ever just needs 4 hours of sleep. That, as it turns out, is it's very, very rare that you only need 4 hours of sleep. There's some sort of gene expression that's linked to that. And most people, when I say most people, I mean like 99% of people, don't quote me on that, but it's a very, very slim number, have that gene. So you probably don't. The reason I don't say get, 13 hours of sleep, you hear about all these professional athletes that get 13 hours of sleep and whatever. is number one, it's just not practical for most of us. But number two, kind of like I talked about the protein thing, the amount of protein you eat, you start to get diminishing returns after a certain amount. So is it really worth all the effort after 9 hours of sleep? Maybe for some, but for most people, start with 7. Okay, if you're getting 5 hours of sleep, shoot for 7. Don't shoot for 13. That 7 to 9 hours of sleep is going to work wonders for most people. Okay, so that's kind of what we're talking about here. But like I said, you might need to experiment with it a little bit. We're looking for the 80-20, the Burrito stuff. All right, so focus on that. In a minute, I'm going to talk to you about how you can guarantee 7 to 9 hours of sleep every night, even if you can never get to sleep, okay? Guarantee, I'm going to air quotes, 7 to 9 hours, I'm going to air quotes, but I really believe if you follow what I'm telling you to do, at the very least, you'll see some serious progress, but you got to do it, okay? We'll get to that. Here's the problem with sleep. It's hard to force. It's really hard to force sleep because it's one of those things. See, with nutrition and exercise, it's easier to wrap your head around it because, you know, you get the whole willpower thing, right? Like, I know I can just get to the gym. I know I got to get to the gym. I know what I got to do there. I know I need to eat right. I know what that looks like, right? I can make myself do that. It's just a matter of willpower, et cetera, et cetera. First of all, we can talk about that all day long. We kind of have already. I'll link to some videos where I sort of discuss it. But just know it's easier to wrap your head around fitness. I shouldn't say fitness, but exercise and nutrition, because those are just behaviors that you can grab a hold of, right? Sleep. I'm going to share with you why it is a behavioral thing, but at first glance, second glance, and third glance, it's this mystical thing that has this unfortunate issue where the more you think about how much you need to get to sleep, the harder it is to go to sleep, right? You psych yourself out, you stress out, your heart starts beating faster, you start sweating, you're worried about something tomorrow, then you're worried about 50 other different things, and then you're worried about how you are not getting enough sleep, and then you still don't get sleep, right? I don't know if you go through that, but I've spent 5 hours of my life, 5 years probably of my life just sitting in bed with my heart beating fast, freaking out over not being able to fall asleep, and it's absolutely terrible. And if you know what I'm talking about, you're shaking your head right now, okay? I don't have that problem anymore. I very, very rarely have a problem falling to sleep in a reasonable amount of time anymore. And again, I'm going to tell you what's worked for me, okay? Some of it's backed by science. Some of it's backed by that book and a couple other things I've read. A lot of it's just backed by trial and error personal experience, all right? I found out the hard way. I want to share it with you. So I kind of chalk up the inability to sleep into 2 different verticals, we'll call it. I mentioned this in the too long didn't watch part. We got what's going on in your head, we got what's going on in your body, and we have how those 2 things tend to feed off of each other quite a bit. And amount to you, again, just sitting there staring up at your ceiling. 5 minutes is actually 5 hours, and you look at the clock and all, you know the drill, right? So I'd tell you how to fix that, but let me sidetrack. I'm going to get into 4 quick points, little short topics that kind of all work together with this thing. And we'll call them frequently asked questions, even though I might not form it in a question, but things that often come up. So first of all, regardless of whether or not you can fall asleep, you need to make sure that your window of sleep is open. In other words, you can't expect to sleep for 7 hours a night if you go to bed at 2 a.m., get in your bed physically at 2 a.m., and you got to be at work at 8 a.m. the next morning. The math, it's a simple math problem at that point. It just doesn't add up. You're not giving yourself an adequate window. Again, regardless, we're not even talking about can you fall asleep. We're talking about, are you creating a window of time that fits those 7 to 9 hours? All right? So just about everybody has a bedtime routine of some kind. You might brush your teeth, you might feed your dogs, lock your doors, set your alarm clock, set your security alarm if you have one, tuck your kids in, watch Bob Ross, whatever it is. I like to watch Bob Ross before bed. Whatever it is, you know what it is you need to do. Likewise, you probably have a morning routine too. You got to start the coffee pot, you got to pack your kids' lunches, make a shake for breakfast, make breakfast. Everyone has your own routine. You probably know what yours is. So this is what you do. And this doesn't fall into those fixes. This is just this is a freebie here. Break apart your routine. If you need to, write it down. Literally, as you're going to bed, write down what you're doing. And most likely it's going to be part of your routine. In the morning, before you go to work or whatever it is you do for that first hour, write down what you're doing, okay? Then go through that list. It's kind of like what I do for nutrition. Write down what you do for a week, what you eat for a week, and then go back through and cherry pick it. Pick the low-hanging fruit. This is what we're doing. Go through that routine and pick the things that you can do at just about any time during the day, okay? And then batch those behaviors. So let's talk about coffee for a second. If you spend 5 minutes in the morning washing out the coffee pot, prepping that, getting it ready, blah, 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 set a coffee timer. Most coffee makers have a timer in them. If you don't buy one that has one, I'm sure they're like 25 bucks, right? If you're super cheap or you don't know how to work it, then at the very least, just fill it up with water in the beginning of the night, before you go to bed. Fill it up with water, fill it up with coffee, it's good to go, okay? Save yourself some time there. Pack your kids' lunches in the afternoon before the next day. So throw them in the fridge so that you don't have to spend that extra 15 minutes or however long it takes you in the morning scrambling to pack their lunches. If you make a shake in the morning, I make a shake almost every morning. Make a shake, but do it the night before, or do it the previous afternoon before when you have that extra time so it's ready to go. So right there, let's just say you saved yourself 20 minutes. Same with bedtime. If you got to set your alarm, set up a recurring alarm on your phone right now that wakes you up every single morning at whatever time you need to get up. You're done with that. That saves, 30 seconds? But whatever, your mind's, it's filling the void in your head. Any of those behaviors, most likely you're going to get it to the point where you're now increasing your window of sleep by at least 30 minutes. Okay, which might not sound like a ton, but that's an extra 30 minutes, and that's very, very quick and easy. Those are gimmies, okay? It's just behavioral changes. So now, not only will you have that extra time window available, but you might even get the added bonus of, I know I don't have to get up and make coffee in the morning. When I get up, it's going to be there ready for me. And for some people, that just might be enough right there. So consider that. Batch your stuff. Anything that you could do ahead of time, do it. Identify what those routines are and knock them out so you get your sleep window, your 7 to 9 hours, okay? Second thing I want to talk about, do stuff that makes you tired. Dale Carnegie, old school self-help guru. Dale Carnegie, back in 1948, wrote a book called How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. And it's full of just really old school, practical advice. And the book really changed my life in more ways than one, but really, especially with the way I sleep. And when your sleep improves, like I'm saying, everything else improves. Dale Carnegie says, you're having trouble falling asleep? Work yourself into exhaustion during the day, and you won't have any problem falling asleep. Eventually, you're just gonna fall asleep. For almost everybody that works, I know it worked for me. Let me share with you what my Monday looks like. Let me share with you why I never have trouble falling asleep on Monday night. And this is not so that I can brag about how busy I am. I'm sure that some ditch digger, full-time ditch digger, is going to watch this and be envious of what I'm about to say. But all I can say is that I always thought I was really busy and really active until my current Mondays came around. This is what it looks like. Wake up at 4:15 a.m., work out at 5 a.m. until about 6:30. Train clients from about 7 a.m. to 10:15 a.m. Then before I go home, I usually run 30 minutes, 60 minutes worth of errands. Come home, eat lunch, take like a 30-minute cat nap, And a lot of times that cat nap, I don't even talk about naps and a million other things we talk about with sleep. A lot of times that cat nap is just me laying there chilling out. Okay, don't try to worry about, am I falling asleep? I'm not. For me, I found that just laying there, and I don't know what this is called, I know it has a name, but you know when you kind of glitch a little bit in your head, you're like, why was I thinking about that? I didn't consciously think about that. Well, you're like flirting with dreaming. For me, I have found that even though when I get out of bed for the first 2 minutes, I'm kind of like groggy and tired. If I was just able to, I call it, if I could just get that glitch for 5 seconds, it seems like it's enough that it gives me enough juice to go through the rest of the day. Okay, so that's my little cat nap spiel. Take a 30-minute cat nap if I can. Get up out of bed. I'll write programs or I workouts for my clients. I make YouTube videos, whatever. I work on IT projects. I do IT stuff on the side. I do that for a few hours. Then I go get the kids off the bus if school's in session. Help them with their homework for about 20 minutes if I can. Shovel a bunch of food in my face, an early dinner. Go back to the gym. Teach a kids jiu-jitsu class for an hour. Train clients for the 2.5 hours. Then teach an adult jiu-jitsu class. Come home, 9:45ish, eat a bedtime snack, kiss my kids who are most likely sleeping, and then pass the F out. Right? It does not matter what's going on in my head Monday nights. I'm out. I'm done. I mean, I'm not telling you have to work a 17-hour day, but I am saying if you work a 17-hour day, you're probably going to be okay falling asleep that night. All right? So that's an extreme example for me anyway. But all the cliche, everybody else, if you don't have that opportunity to work a physically demanding job all day long, there's still some things you could do, right? You could still stay active. So think about like all the crap that your HR department posts about staying healthy at work and job productivity and all those signs you probably just walk right by, or like only read them when you're trying not to work, right? So stuff like taking the stairs and parking at the far end of the parking lot and getting a standing desk or getting up and walking around the campus at lunch or, getting up every 45 minutes from your job and stretching and all that stuff. Do all that stuff. And it really does add up, and it really does eventually make you tired, and it really does have an added benefit of helping you burn fat and weight management, all right, weight loss especially. So I talked before, I can't remember if it was during the Zero to Burrito thing series, but I quoted Stan Efferding, who said, what did he say? If you switch to a standing desk, if you stand at work instead of sitting, you have the metabolic equivalent of running 10 marathons a year, okay? So you're burning about the same amount of calories standing up at work 5 days a week as you are running 10 marathons a year. All those little things, they don't seem like much. It's called NEAT. It's called non-exercise active, I think, thermogenesis. So it's burning calories, which from the majority of people, maybe like professional athletes aside, you burn way, way more calories just doing these little things throughout the day, cleaning your house, all that crap. By doing that, than you do exercising, okay? So that's very, very important. It's a little added benefit, but it also helps you sleep, okay? Third thing I want to talk about is alcohol. Alcohol, for most people, it's a sedative, it's a depressant, it helps you fall asleep. It helps you fall asleep for many reasons. The problem is, as long as you don't have the spins, yeah. If you're like totally hammered and you're puking, that's a little different. But if you have like a couple drinks before bed, most likely you're going to fall asleep a little easier. You're a little more relaxed, etc. The problem is it tends to sabotage the quality of your sleep. And if you get a lot of sleep, but it's garbage sleep, then it's garbage sleep. Sounds like someone's trying to get in the door there. All right. Now, I like drinking. I do like to have an occasional beverage, adult beverage, and sometimes that ends up being like 6 of them, right? But for the most part, I've eliminated drinking during the week, a lot of times even during the weekend, anytime I have to get up early to do something, I don't drink that night. With almost 100% proficiency there, because it just wrecks my day. Like if I get off to a bad start, I hit the gym at 5 a.m. I wouldn't even call it a hangover, but I'm just not feeling right. Right? That sets the stage for failure for the rest of the day. And objectively speaking, your quality of sleep just isn't there. So you don't only feel crappy, but you don't recover properly. It's just a bad idea. So, you know, if you're physically dependent on alcohol, like you're an alcoholic, I can't really help you with this video. I don't know if I can help you at all, other than to be a friend, you know. But I mean, I know plenty of people who have experienced that, and it sucks. You got to get help, right? That's not really what I'm talking about. I'm talking for the folks that just like kind of enjoying drinking regularly, but they don't necessarily, they're psychologically dependent, right? They kind of rely on that little kind of like that mild buzz, that relaxation. They like the way it tastes, whatever it is. If that's you, I mean, I really recommend not. I really recommend just cutting it out. Like, not all together, you know, have your days, but like for most of the time, like I said, if you got to get up early, you got to be productive. You have physical goals that you're trying to hit. Alcohol should really just not be part of the equation. That's just the way I feel about it. So, you know, you can get a hobby, do something else instead of drinking at night. I mean, use your imagination there. For the days that you do want to drink, you know, that you don't have to really do much the next day, I recommend you splurge a little. Not necessarily in the quantity, but like spend 20 extra bucks on a nice bottle of scotch or something. Really enjoy it, so that way you have something to look forward to on the nights that, you know, you're not drinking. You'd be like, well, I get to enjoy that, you know, $80 single malt over the weekend, and I'm going to let myself enjoy it, right? If you have the willpower to do something like that, I recommend you do it. Do all this other stuff I'm talking about, and I shouldn't even say this, but like, look, if I had to, I don't use marijuana, but like if I had a gun to my head and I had to choose between drinking regularly and eating indica strains before bed, you know, I would choose the latter every single time. I'm not telling you to go out and start smoking weed, but I am saying, like, if that is an option, if it's legal where you live, and you just have to have something, you're going to be better off as far as sleep is concerned with some of the, funky stuff. Yeah, I'm just going to leave it at that. All right. So I'm not encouraging drug use, but I am saying, like, if you got to pick between one of those two, even though the stigma is still on the herbal essence, I think it's better for you. But anyways, don't smoke it, eat it. All right. And I know, by the way, for the record, my life insurance agent is watching this. I do not use. Okay, let's move on. Let's talk about melatonin. I just did a video on melatonin, so I'm not going to talk too much about it. But I have found that melatonin helps kind of, I talked about this in the video, kind of blows me over the edge. When I'm tired, it gives me that little nudge in dreamland, right? It's one of those things on paper that is relatively well researched, yet they haven't been able to come to any conclusive evidence that it does anything for you except help with jet lag. That said, I swear by a responsible, occasional supplementation with melatonin. It really helps give me that just a little extra bump. Watch the video if you really want to get into the details of how I feel about it, but that's where I stand with melatonin. It can be good, it can be helpful, but it's not a substitute for the rest of the stuff I'm talking about. All right. So let's talk about guaranteeing your 7 to 9 hours of sleep every night. Here's how you're going to do it. Here's how I did it. Here's what I do. Like I said, I don't have a problem falling asleep anymore, and I had a serious problem falling asleep for most of my life. So I think that's saying something. This has really worked for me. I'm going to give you a few strategies, 3 specifically, that work for me. And I'm going to talk again about those sleep blockages, the mental or the physical thing. Like I said, with exercise and nutrition, it's easy to wrap your head around them. You know what you need to do. With sleep, when you think about it, it screws you up even more. You can't force yourself to sleep in a lot of cases. So here's the trick. I said you need to get 7 to 9 hours. Take one, if not all, of these 3 fixes, these 3 behaviors, and as you are actively engaged in doing them, count those toward how much sleep you got, okay? So if you spend, I'm going to talk about foam rolling, okay? I'm going to talk about journaling or brain dumping or making to-do lists. I'm going to talk about taking cold showers, right? You knew that was coming if you watch these videos. Those are my three bombs that work for me every time. The time that you spend, if you spend 20 minutes foam rolling, if you spend 10 minutes doing a brain dump, and you spend 5 minutes in a cold shower, then as you're tracking your sleep, count those. I know it's not sleeping technically, but count those for the sake of your sanity and for the sake of confidence in your ability to fall asleep, for the sake of all the things that are going to return dividends over time. Count those toward your 7 to 9 hours, okay? So let me talk about fix number 1. This is for like a mental blockage. This is huge. I've made a video on this before. I'll link to it. Talking about brain dumps and to-dos and like gratitude journals, okay? All those things I would place in this category. Brain dumps for me and to-do lists are what I do the most of, and I swear by them. Instead of lying in bed, this is what happened. I'm just going to read it. I think I did a good job explaining it. You're lying there, you're having like a heart attack over a giant thunderstorm of every problem that you've ever had and every problem that you're going to have, and it all seems to culminate and rain on you at once, right? It's very hard to handle. You're going to get out of bed. Instead of laying there in misery, you're going to get out of bed. You're going to grab a piece of paper. You're going to grab a pen. You're going to write down every single thought that you have. You're going to write it down on a piece of paper, okay? Until you can no longer think of anything else. It might take you 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 35 minutes, whatever. You're going to write it all down until no more thoughts come to your head. It does not have to make any sense at all. What you write down doesn't have to make any sense. You don't even have to do anything with it. But here's the thing. You're going to have that giant monster, that giant thunderstorm that was in your head, it's now going to be in front of you. Which you can deal with that. All right, you can't grab on to the stuff that's in your head. And every problem in your head seems worse than it actually is. So what you got to do is write it all down, okay? If you're for the to-do list, if you're worried about how you're going to schedule your day tomorrow, then schedule it right now. It's 1 in the morning. Get a pen and paper, get out of bed, quit screwing around, write it down. Write down exactly what you're going to do tomorrow. Make a checklist, okay? If you're really excited about something that you're going to do in the morning, it's a good thing, right? But you're still excited, right? You still can't get to sleep. Write that down. Write down what you're going to do. Write down the things that you're looking forward to. Get it all on paper. But you got to get your butt out of bed. You can't just sit there and think about it. And if you're like me, even though I know it works, you're still going to sit there and you're going to be like, you're going to talk yourself, I don't really need to get up right now. I'm about to fall asleep. No. If you got any of those thoughts in your head, get your butt out of bed, or at the very least, keep a piece of paper and a pen right by your bed and write that crap down. Get it out of your head and in front of you. Like I said, you don't have to do anything with it at all, but you got to do it, okay? I can't swear by that advice enough. It has worked miracles for me. Okay, number 2, we're going to talk about the physical blockage, right? The physical problem. Pain, restless leg syndrome. I did a video on restless legs before, at least what I think I have restless legs. It's like this. I don't want to turn this into a restless legs video, but it's like, I try to describe it as like, when you got to stretch and yawn, that feeling you have right before you do that, it's like this overwhelming full body need to stretch. Again, not stretch like touch your toes, but stretch like do that. You know what I'm talking about. Restless legs to me is like, let me know if I'm getting it right here. Hang on, I'm gonna make a video's getting long. All right, restless legs to me is like that feeling that you have right before you got to stretch, but it just doesn't go away. It stays, and it's impossible to get comfortable. You got to move around. It sucks. All right. Pain, like actual pain, like back pain, whatever. If you're in pain, that's also extremely hard to get to sleep. So this sort of helps knock out both of those. You're going to get your butt out of bed, right? Your bed should be a place where you sleep. It should not be a place where you worry about sleeping. I know that sounds stupid, but man, it's totally true. Okay, bed should be, you get in bed and it's where you go to sleep. All right. So get your butt out of bed just like you did for writing down your brain dump or whatever, and you're gonna foam roll, right? You're gonna work on, if you have back pain. If your doctor gave you a pamphlet of a bunch of exercises you should be doing in order to fix your back pain, your knee pain, your hip pain, whatever it is, that's a great time to do those exercises. Now, I do want to say, because there might be some of you like, oh, wait a minute, right? Exercise, hard exercise, is not something you want to do before bed. And I'll talk about that in a second when I talk about the cold showers. It puts you in a sympathetic state, that fight or flight, which is really hard to downregulate from and get yourself ready for sleep. But really easy, light exercise, stretching, self-myofascial release, or smashing, if you will. Really light exercise. I always call them Jane Fonda exercises, but like the exercises you do to kind of strengthen those small areas, like say around your hips, you know, your glute medius and everything like that. Doing that kind of stuff is great to help you get to sleep. So not only does it drop you back down to that parasympathetic state, or at least help with that, but if you're in pain, first of all, you got to do those things anyway. You got to keep on yourself. You got to heal yourself. You're most likely in pain because you got some faulty movement pattern that's caused mobility restrictions and or made you weak in that certain area. So you got to do that anyway. You might as well do it while you're having trouble falling asleep, because it's going to also help you fall asleep, which is something you need to help recover from that problem. So it's twofold, okay? So a couple things. I'm not going to do a demonstration today of what those exercises might look like, but what I will do is I'm going to tell you, like, my 3 heavy hitters for it are, I do gut smashing. I'll get on like a ball, wedge it up. I bet I've done 3 or 4 gut smashing videos on this channel. Like I said, I'll link to them. And this is a big one. I mean, for restless legs, for just helping you fall asleep, I believe is linked somehow to the vagus nerve, which is linked to your parasympathetic, the rest and digest system. So by smashing your guts, literally, you are telling your body it's time to chill out. When you're on the ball, it's miserable. When you get off, it's great. Foam rolling your quads, foam rolling your lower legs, your calves. For me, especially with restless legs, that really helps a lot when I follow it, especially with a really deep stretch, deep hamstring stretch, deep calf stretch. It works wonders for me. But you got to do it. You got to get your butt out of bed and you got to do it. As far as the rest of the things go, I would just recommend you do some Googling, or talk to a physical therapist or your doctor. Do what they tell you first. But if you're stubborn or whatever, you just want to figure it out on your own, do some Googling. Go to, I've talked about the Smashworks channel, Trevor Bachmeyer. I've talked about Dr. Kelly Starrett, and I've talked about Bob and what are their names? The most famous physical therapists on the internet. All that stuff's great. I'm sure there's a million other ones too. Go on there and find out what your ailment is and start working through those exercises and stick to them religiously. Do them every day, or do them for the prescribed amount that those folks recommend. They know what they're talking about. Do it. If you want to stick with me, I did a long time ago this thing, I call it the interactive mobility flexibility table or something. It's basically like you can sort through 50 different exercises, give or take, of me doing all these different smashing techniques with a lacrosse ball and with foam rollers and stretches and everything. And you could say, like, I got lower back pain. What do you do these 4 exercises, right? It's a lot like Dr. Kelly Starrett's Supple Leopard book, his prescription stuff at the end. Another great book. So anyways, what I'm saying is there's a million things you could do to help yourself fall asleep, but also heal yourself, so to speak, in the process. I can't stress that part enough. So if it's physical stuff that's got you, that has you having a problem falling asleep, get your butt out of bed and do that too. Okay? So we're brain dumping, we're rolling around, we're stretching stuff. Number 3, this isn't for everybody. It really isn't, but everybody who I have had try it, who has actually taken me up on it, has said, wow, I can't believe that taking a cold shower actually helps me sleep. Because when you get in cold, you are doing the exact opposite of sleeping. It's crazy. Everybody's been cold. Everybody's been in cold water before. It totally goes against everything you've ever thought of about, like, why would you ever think that would help you fall asleep? And for some people, it might not, right? But, you can't fall asleep anyways. It's really going to hurt you to try. So I've made cold shower videos before. I'll link to those. I'm not in the cold shower. Just to give you a heads up, it's not a bathing video. It's just, I'm talking about like the techniques to cold showers. But I just want to say this. This is what it's like for me for cold showers. It's like, I wrote it down here somewhere. I thought it was really clever. I said it's like watching Shark Week. Cold shower for me is like watching Shark Week. And that is that I see these great big killing machines on my TV, but I know that there's nothing they could do to me in my family room while I'm watching it. Okay, I was talking about before, when you're lying in bed and you're worried about something, you got some sort of thought on your brain, or maybe you did a workout before bed, or recently, like when I did jiu-jitsu for the first year, when my body wasn't quite used to grown men trying to kill me for 30 minutes to 60 minutes every night, it was really, really, really hard for me to settle down and go to sleep. That's a whole other video in itself. But I would take cold showers, and I would do some of the other stuff we're talking about. I take cold showers, and it's like this. Everything in your head, when you got a worry or you got something going on in your brain and you can't shut it down, your heart rate goes up. Like literally your heart rate will increase. And then you start getting to the point where you're thinking, my heart's beating so fast, or I'm like sweating here thinking about this thing. And then that starts feeding into, and now I can't get to sleep either. So you got 2 things, 3 things working against you, and it's a miracle you ever fall asleep at all. The reason I brought the Shark Week up is because it's like, I might still have the thing in my head, that big scary great white, right? But my body doesn't care about it. It's like it's severed somewhere. It's like that cold shower just resets me, so that I'm like, the thought's still there, but it's not having that elevated heart rate, that physical response. And I don't know what that is, and I don't think it's just me. But if it works wonders for you like it does for me, then you got to try it. I would recommend you try it. And it doesn't have to be terrible. Watch one of my old videos where I talk about just doing it for 30 seconds, right? Because it's very hard to adjust to. It takes some cojones to jump into a cold shower, but I really think it's worth it. Okay, so we're almost done with the video here, but back to just wrapping up that guaranteed 7 to 9 hours. I don't think I explained it very well. With those 3 activities, the brain dump, or the journal, or the to-do list, maybe all 3, the rolling around and stretching, the SMR and stretching, and then the cold shower. The time that you spend doing one of those activities, not the time that you spend in bed thinking about how maybe you should try them, the time that you spend actually doing them. Log how much time that took you, or at least get a ballpark. If you don't want to look at a clock, I totally understand. I know it can be debilitating in the middle of the night when you see what time it is. Just get an idea for how long that took you, maybe 30 minutes, right? Maybe 15, maybe an hour, I don't know. And use that, take a mental note Add that to your pool of 7 to 9 hours. And eventually over time, you're going to see that you can fall asleep. You're going to start to treat your bed like a place to sleep instead of a place to worry, or a place to be in pain. And all the changes that you're doing to your body, all the other beneficial changes from doing those activities that I didn't even talk about, they're all going to start to add up. And before you know it, you're actually going to start getting a legit 7 to 9 hours of sleep. Again, wrapping it up, this will be the conclusion here. Get serious about getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep. It's super important. Falling asleep, it's either due to worry, something in your head, or something in your body, pain, right? Or restlessness or uncomfortableness. Talk about those 4 side topics. I talked about taking care of tasks that is very, very important, that making sure your window is 7 to 9 hours for the potential to sleep, even if you can't necessarily get to sleep. So batch your tasks and get them done ahead of time so you make sure you have plenty of time to actually sleep when you can get into sleep. Stay as active as possible. You know, if you need to, change careers to something that's extremely physically demanding and back-breaking work. Cut out booze, or at least minimize it. All the things I talked about there. Consider supplementing occasionally with melatonin. Do your own research on it if you want to. It's relatively safe. Just like I said, watch that melatonin video where I talk about just my thoughts on it. And then do those 3 fixes, 1 or all 3 of those fixes anytime you sit there thinking about how you're not falling asleep. Get up and do something about it. And count that time that you spend on it toward how much sleep you got. Okay? I really think this is going to help you out because it's helped me out tremendously. And anybody who's done what I've shared with them has experienced great results falling asleep. But you have to do them. I mean, it's all about, you know, I just to bring it home here, talked about how you can grab a hold of nutrition. You can grab a hold of exercise. It's hard to get in the habit of doing it, but you know that you know what you got to do, right? This makes sleep the same thing. It makes it less mysterious, it makes it less self-defeating thinking about having to fall asleep, and it gives you something to actually grab a hold of. It gives you a behavior to practice so that you can get good quality sleep and enough of it. All right, guys. Rob Shoecraft here, 3 Storm Fitness. Subscribe to this channel if you want to stay tuned with the Zero to Burrito videos and equipment reviews and all sorts of stuff. Like this channel if it helped you out or you think it's going to help you out. And comment if you have any questions or you have arguments or anything at all. I'd love to hear from you. I will eventually get back to answering your questions. That's something that I batch. If you've left a comment and you're like, this is a really good question, why isn't he answering me? I really go out of my way to answer people eventually, but I usually do it about every 2 weeks. Sometimes 3, sometimes 4, but I will get back to you. Thank you so much. Have a great day.